Hello and welcome back to Go Create Craft. In today's video I'll show you how to design and assemble a layered embossing folder that gives professional depth to your cards. So where we want to end up is with artwork with multiple layers. So this is going to create a 3D effect on our card, and we're going to have multiple layers of one layer where we want to add more depth and just single ones where it's like a shade in between. So let's dive on what we're going to do. So first of all, let's add a square to a brand new mat. You can do this in the basic shapes. We then need to go to edit, and we're going to resize our shape down to 5mm square. Now at the moment I'm in inches, so either in the top menu or in the artboard we can change the unit to millimeters. So just drop the drop down and click on mm to change to millimeters. We can then go back to the edit menu to change our size, and all you need to do is type 5 and hit tab to make your square 5mm. Now if you need to move that square, we risk stretching or enlarging that shape, which we don't want to do. So instead we can go to edit and position and X and Y, where X is the movement across your page and Y is the movement down your page, to actually move that square in and down a little. So we can click and drag over the top, go to layers, and down at the bottom of the layers panel you have duplicate, which will give a additional copy down to the left, down to the right, and down a little. And you could also use copy and paste for that same positioning. Canvas doesn't enable you to do a direct duplicate over the top, so this is how we have to do it. And you want to have 5 copies. Then we're going to go to edit, and we're going to go down to align. We're going to align left and align top, which will put all of our squares directly overlapping each other. So now we have our registration layer complete, and we've got our 5 squares. From here you can import your own design from SVG. You could use image tracing, or you can just use these shapes within Canvas Workspace itself. So I'm going to start with creating a base layer using either a square or a rectangle, and this is what we're going to adhere our other pieces to. So you want it to be slightly larger than your design. For this next layer we're going to use an octagon. We're going to size it so that it sits within that initial square, and you want to get it roughly in the correct place. Then we're going to go to edit. We're going to select both the square and the octagon, and we're going to go align to center and middle, and then we know that both shapes are perfectly aligned. We then want to add 4 triangles, one for each corner. You need to size down the shape so that it fits in that corner. It can be a little bit tricky to get hold of the shapes as they're now overlapping. So I'm just going to move it so that corner aligns where I want it and size it down. We then need to duplicate this shape so that we have 4 copies. With each copy we're going to use the top rotation handle and the shift key on the keyboard to fix the rotation to a 90 or 180 degree rotation, so that we can move around each of those corners. So with our four corners now in place, or very approximately in place, we're going to correct the alignment. So you're going to select one triangle and your octagon, and hopefully your triangle sits within that bounding box of that octagon so that we can use line. If not, you can adjust using the arrow keys on just the triangle so that it actually gets within, and then use either the left and bottom, the right and bottom, right and top, and left and top, given the order that I do things in. Select the four triangles and the octagon, and you can group them using Command and G on a Mac, or Control and G on a PC, or just G online. With this now grouped, we can do our next layer, which is going to be another octagon that is going to sit inside of our original octagon. Now, you could do this so that you subtract it from the bottom layer to create more of a frame design, but in this case I'm going to have it more of a panel, so this is going to be an additional layer on top. And we can use line again to line everything up, but make sure you select the outer square, the group with the triangles, and your center octagonal shape too, so that they all align together. Finally, we're going to create another frame layer, again with another octagon. So resize that slightly in of the panel. And then to speed up the process a little bit, we can use offset instead. So we're going to set our offset to inwards. We can set it to 5mm, which is the same as our square, just for reference of size. And the corner type doesn't matter because we're going inwards and you want to leave as is so that we keep our original line. And then you can go to OK to apply the offset. So now we have our layered panel design and we're ready to start producing our actual layers ready to cut. Now, to make your life easier, what you're going to want to do is to colour these layers. So start by working from your bottom layer upwards. So we're going to colour the square, and then we're going to colour the bottom registration square so that we're tying together these two layers. So you've got a little paint bucket in the top, and that will open up a little palette on your screen, and then just click on the colour. So I'm using a system colour palette I already have, but the colours aren't important. We're then going to do the same for the next group and the next square, and so on and so forth until you have all of your layers and the associated squares coloured. So as I said, colour's not important. What is important is that you have one registration square and one group or single shape that matches that so that we know that they're together. If you have any registration squares left over that haven't had a colour applied, now is the time to delete it. So you should be left with one square and one layer for each colour, and then you're going to work through and group them so that you have the registration square and its matching layer. Work through from your top layer to your bottom layer with your grouping, and you'll find it much easier to see where you are going. Now, once you have everything grouped, we can move out our groups so they no longer overlap, and this is so that the layer is ready for cutting. So if you think about your designing initially what the entire folder is going to look like, and then we're separating it out to build our components, and the only thing you really need to make sure at this point is that no two groups overlap in terms of particularly the registration square, because it's quite easy to get those lost. And your number of groups that you need per layer type as well. So if you want something to have more depth, cut 2 or even 3 layers of that layer. If you want it to be more of a shading layer or transition layer, just cut 1. We can then add text using our text tool to create notes that we can draw onto our layers, because at the end of the day, this is creating a tool that we are using rather than a finished project that is actually going to be seen. So if it helps you, add it on, just using a single line font that we can use to draw with. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. If it's just as simple as just reminding yourself that you've cut 2 bases as I'm doing here, that is absolutely fine. Just keep it nice and simple, and then when you come to rebuild next week, then you'll be able to remember what you did. Save the file for next week, and don't forget to like and subscribe, ready for when the next part goes live. If you'd like more ScanNCut design techniques like this, you'll find classes, downloads and workshops on our Facebook page. Thanks for crafting with me, and don't forget, if you really miss me in the meantime, there's my book. Take care and bye for now.